Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel for a brand new week. It's like when you get Roberto Mancini on Wish, and I've just realised that it does actually look like I've come straight from a funeral. Maybe there's a bit of foreshadowing there ahead of the new season for Celtic, because let's just say the club aren't really getting the fans motivated for what's to come. They've got this really terrible habit, and I'm just going to get rid of that. This terrible habit, Celtic, of killing the mood. Whenever there seems to be something good goes on at the club and fans are up for things, and there's a bit of positivity, bang, they just hit you with a terrible report on a Friday night. It's not even Celtic that do it, it's the tabloids. We had another couple of reports over the weekend. But first of all, I take you back to Friday. Obviously a brilliant evening for Scotland. Great result, but even more so from a Celtic point of view. Ange Postecoglou was at the game. He was sitting next to Dom McKay. The pair met in London. There was real positivity about the place. What does Celtic do for the next two nights? We're linked with Gordon Strachan, and then we renew Anthony Ralston's contract, according to reports. It got me thinking, see this rebuild patter, are Celtic even taking it seriously? Now, before I press on, we did hit the huge milestone of 14.3k on the channel over the weekend. I've always dreamed of getting to that number, but another number that I'm dreaming even more about is that big 15k. We are not quite on the verge of it, but we're certainly getting there. We're not far away at all. As I've said before, the big aim is to get to 15k before Celtic next kick a ball. I think that's about the 7th or 8th of July, so we've got a couple of weeks to get that sorted. You can help me out, you can help the channel out. If you're watching this video and you've not subscribed, please do it now. It would be massively appreciated. Right, back to the car crash that is Celtic. The first report was that Gordon Strachan was going to come back to the club in some capacity. To be fair to Celtic, I think this has been rubbished in the last kind of 36 hours or so. It doesn't seem like Gordon Strachan is going to be coming back to the club, certainly not at this stage. And then last night we got the report that we're set to trigger a 1-year contract extension for Anthony Ralston, who I think played 1 or 2 times for us last season and probably has been the same for the last 3 or 4 seasons. Nothing against Anthony Ralston at all. I think it says more about Celtic, the fact that we just seem to be in scramble mode at the moment, panicking about everything, just not wanting to lose any players because we seemingly have no faith in ourselves to be able to replace any players. And when you consider that we're talking about Anthony Ralston here, we're not talking about Odsonne Edouard, Christopher Ajer or Scott Brown, 3 players who will not be with us next season, then it's more than a little bit concerning. Postecoglou is in Britain anyway. I assume he's in Scotland by now. He will meet his new Celtic players for the first time this week. It may even have happened by the time you're watching this video. This is after he completed, Neil Lennon air quotes, the required initial period of quarantine through the UK government's test to release scheme. So Celtic play our first match of pre-season in 16 days. Less than 2 weeks after that, we have our first competitive match of the season at Celtic Park at home to FC Midtjylland. Barring Scotland going on some crazy run in the Euros, we will have our 6 Celtic contingent from the Scotland camp coming in before that Midtjylland game. However much training they'll have had prior to that, time we'll need to see. We'll also have, I think, Christopher Ajer, Odsonne Edouard, maybe a few other players coming back to the club as well. But Edouard and Ajer quite simply don't want to be at Celtic next season. We don't have Scott Brown anymore. Celtic need to get to work. But the most concerning thing for me is, yes, we've had a few transfer rumours. I covered a lot of them in a video last week. But there doesn't seem to be anything imminent for Celtic. It doesn't seem like the club are really aware that they need to get down and need to get to business ASAP. It just feels like the club are going to do everything at their own pace and are going to leave it really late. Now, of course, this isn't news to the Celtic support. This is because we waited so long on Eddie Howe. We waited 2 months on Eddie Howe and then that collapsed. At the time when the Eddie Howe stuff collapsed, there was a lot of frustration that Eddie Howe wasn't going to be Celtic's manager. I had to trash a few mugs. I had to come and show my face and get laughed at for probably about 5 or 6 days straight. I can take it. But the most concerning thing was the time we had lost, not the fact that Eddie Howe hadn't come in, because we've brought Postecoglou in and I am positive about what he can bring to the club, but it was the time that we had lost. We could have had Postecoglou in right after the Hibs game, the final game of last season, 2 days later on the Monday. He could have been in. We could have been ahead of the curve on this one. But now it just seems like we're chasing our tail. We have lost lots and lots of time. It's over 5 weeks now since the end of Celtic's season. And can we honestly say that we're in a better place than we were at that stage? Yes, we've got a new manager in, but where's the sporting director? Where's the turnover in personnel? We've heard about players leaving. Some players have left. El Yunusi, Scott Brown, etc. Have we brought anyone in other than Liam Shaw, who was already agreed months ago? When are Celtic actually going to realise that we're in a race against time to stop next season being the shambles that last season was? That is what we're fighting against right now. And it just seems like the club are just happy just to waltz around and renew Anthony Ralston's contract and be linked with Eric Sviatchenko. But where's the actual concrete interest in improving Celtic, modernising Celtic, bringing Celtic forward, progressing the club, the stuff that Dom McKay and Ange Postecoglou reportedly share that vision? I repeat for the millionth time literally on this channel, where is the sporting director? This is something that I think the club first advertised away back in February, possibly even when Neil Lennon was still in the job. If not that, then literally days after he was left. We heard about this need to modernise the club. Where is the sporting director? Are the club going to tell us what they are doing? Are they still looking for a sporting director, or have they just canned that one and are hoping to deal with that again in a summer? If so, then I would be more than a bit concerned. The fact that they've had this idea for months and they couldn't get it over the line with, say, Fergal Harkin or anyone else, and now they're no longer interested in pursuing that. But we just don't know. We never hear from the club. We don't hear the plans. We don't know what the club are thinking. I'm not asking the club to tell us absolutely everything, but as supporters, given the shambles that we had last season and the fact that we're a month away from entering the new season, I think we deserve to know what's happening. My big fear is that the club panic once again. They did it last season when they brought in Diego Laxalt on the last day of the window because they couldn't find anyone else. Alone, it didn't work out. We did it in January with John Joe Kenny, again because we needed someone to fill the position. We brought in a loan and it didn't work out. We're back to square one. That is my fear here, that the club don't do this rebuild properly and we end up needing an even bigger rebuild next season. It's a huge task ahead of Dom McKay. I realise he's just in the door and I've got high hopes for what he can bring to the club. That hasn't changed. I've got high hopes of Ange Postecoglou. But these guys have their work cut out because they have so much stuff to do and they don't have much time to do it at all. We need to get the right players in. We can't afford to panic, but equally we can't afford to wait around. It's a huge task, but it's the time for these guys to really show what they're all about. Believe it or not, I am actually excited for what's to come. It probably doesn't come across in this video, which has turned into a bit of a rant. I didn't set out to make it a bit of a rant, but I just think the people at Celtic need to realise that the supporters are more than a bit concerned about next season. We are not far away from the new season and we have a club and a squad that is crumbling. There are positions in that Celtic squad that maybe have one or two players. Full-back areas, we're dire. Centre-backs, if we lose Ayer, we're dire. Midfield, we've lost Scott Brown. Up top, we're going to lose Odsonne Edouard. We've not really got any wingers at the club apart from maybe James Forrest and Mikey Johnson. What about the goalkeeping issue? There's questions everywhere, but there was questions 2 months ago. We could have gone a bit of the way to sorting these issues by now, but suddenly we're just sitting here a couple of weeks to go until the new season. The players are back in training and there seems to be very little, if not no, progress made at all. Pressure is on, guys. Prove me wrong. I'm certainly not the only one that's getting more than a bit concerned about next season.